And I got a good pH level down there, dude. I'm not trying to mess that up.
Hey.
Come on, you got to seize the goddamn gap.
People are so goddamn inefficient. Oh, god damn it! I don't care if you're old, seize the gap!
Hey, man, I gotta get going. I have some friends from my fantasy league coming over, so I should find my ride.
Hey, I like sports too. Yeah, I do, but I've never really engaged with the fantasy element of it.
Straight up now, tell me, is it gonna be you and me together? Or are you just having fun?
You know what, John? Cancel your ride. I'll drive you to your fantasy.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
And daily fantasy makes every game matter.
Here we are on the Joe Blow Football Show, ready to get into a fast and furious upcoming Week 9. It's Seize the Gap Fantasy Football. I'm Jamie G. He's Magnum Mills. Some call me a surgeon, some don't. But one thing is true, and that is we're about to articulate and do some surgical procedures on this week's Week 9 fantasy football injuries and ads. Let's start with injuries, Mills. There was a bunch of them last week. Let's start right at the quarterback position. Let's get into this fast and furious.
Here we are at quarterback. Like you said, injuries that are a little tough to gauge. It's not a real cut and dry week. We have Kyler Murray first off. He had an ankle injury right at the end of that Thursday night football loss against the Packers. He's questionable this week as the Cardinals travel to San Francisco to face the Niners. I think the most likely scenario is that Murray winds up playing, but being somewhat limited with his mobility. Obviously, that's going to suck for fantasy because you have Kyler Murray. You're going to feel inclined to start him, and it might not be that bad of a game. Either way, I'd say there's probably a 25% chance it's Colt McCoy under center. And in that case, I'm just basically running and hiding from all the Cardinals not named Chase Evans probably. If you only have, Murray as one of your two quarterbacks in a 2 QB super flex, then I go ahead, add Colt McCoy for 1-3%. And if you have to use them this week, so be it, but it is what it is. And hey, that worked out with me with Mike White in the league last week. So lightning does strike occasionally.
It does, but will it strike twice? Time will tell. Mills, Dak Prescott, Dallas Cowgirls, he's questionable this week. My gun to my DX tells me he's playing this week, but there's a chance he's not out there. And if that's so, that brings in Cooper Rush. Is Cooper Rush an ad for you here just in case? Or are you betting on the fact that Dak's going to play?
Yeah, same thing. In 2 QB super flex, if you own Prescott or you have an empty bench spot, sure, spend 1, 2, 3% of your FAAB, get him in there just in case. But like you said, it seemed that Dak was close to playing on Sunday Night Football, so I do expect him to play this week. And you should know that pretty soon. He's expected to get a full practice on Thursday, and Dallas plays at 1:00 this week, so it's not like you have to wait till the 4 p.m. slate to see. And let's just drinks up. Pour one out. Jameis Winston. God bless himself. He's now under the sea for the rest of the year. Tore his ACL, fucked up his MCL. This is not great, Bob, especially when it was on an illegal horse collar tackle by Devin White. As an Eagles fan, I remember Terrell Owens getting tackled in this fashion, and that even though he had a great game in the Super Bowl, I still feel that he wasn't all the way there, what he could have been if he'd been fully healthy. So Winston should be considered questionable for the start of next season. I mean, Dynasty talking about IR, it doesn't even know. My guess is he's probably back with the Saints now because the market's not going to be huge for an injured guy, so they could get him on the cheap. Yeah, but not great, Bob. But that brings us to our first priority ad here.
Somebody gotta be there when it gets ugly. Somebody gotta be there when it gets bloody. Somebody got to get their hands dirty.
Again, 2 quarterback, super flex league. Taysom Hill's out there. I'm going 50 to 75% probably, depending on how bad I need a quarterback. I don't think he has, that QB1 upside, but could he be QB8 the rest of the way? Sure. And if you're in a single quarterback league, I don't mind picking him up, and I'm only probably spending 2 to 4% of my FAAB. Especially if you've been streaming the position. You saw last year that he can be effective because he has so much upside with his legs and can occasionally, throw for some yards and touchdowns.
Talk to us a little bit about Trevor Siemian here. Is this anything that, does this change with what you just said about Taysom Hill?
I would say that pretty much if you're in a 2-quarterback super flex league, you own Winston, you don't own Hill. Yeah, put in, with that same kind of 1 to 5% bottom of the barrel bid for Siemian. If someone's desperate for a quarterback, you won't get him. I think that ultimately Hill is going to be in here, or it'll be a split job. And it's not like Trevor Siemian at 50% volume is going to be enough to be fantasy viable, but he might get you there, next week against the Falcons for, if nothing else.
Tyrod Taylor is tentatively expected to be back under center for the Texans this week. They're traveling to take on the Dolphins. I really liked how he looked the first game and a half before he got hurt this year. What are we doing with Tyrod Taylor, specifically in those 2 quarterback super flex leagues? He's worthy of getting of adding, right?
Oh, if he's out there, absolutely. But I think the fact that he started out the season so well and then was IR eligible, he's not going to be out there much. Obviously, if he's out there, that 50 to 75%, go for it. In in a 1 quarterback league, it does seem that it's more likely now that he doesn't play than he plays, and then the Texans are on a bye next week. So I wouldn't go more than 1% of your FAB on him, and that's if you have the bench spot to stash him. But I would definitely say whether or not he plays this week, then he will be there under center in week 11 when they come out of the bye.
Let's walk through some ads here. You've got your boy, the real Mike White. Talk to us about the quarterback, red hot Mike White, coming out of the Jets.
Look, he's a professional quarterback. And what that means is he's bounced around the league after being a 6th-round pick of the Cowboys. That means going to team, living out of your suitcase, learning different offenses, learning different terminology. Does that make you a superstar? Not very often, but can it work out for you? Yes, just ask Chase Daniels. He came in there and showed that the Jets they can be a functional offense. Part of the problem was Zach Wilson was trying to come in and be a fucking hero, for a better term. And what they need is a guy who's just willing to take what's there. From White, that was pretty much throw it to Jamison Crowder, throw it to the running backs. But guess what? They beat the fucking Bengals, who were riding high as damn near the number 1 seed in the AFC at that point. Now they are on a short week traveling to Indianapolis. Do I think they win? Probably not. Could Mike White have another good performance here? Sure. So if he's out there in Superflex, especially if you own the boy Zach Wilson, the boy White Zach, pick him up, put him on your back of your roster. I think you can still probably get him 5 to 10%. I'm probably, if I don't own Wilson, going more like 2 to 4%. But either way, cover yourself a little bit. And if you need a super flex option, he's fine this week on a short week at Indianapolis. I mean, Carson Wentz can do many things, including shoot himself in the foot.
That he can. PJ Walker is another interesting one here. Again, 2 quarterback super flex league, kind of only play for you this week. What are you spending on a FAB? Is he still in that 1 to 5% range?
Yeah, pretty much. We all want to fight for the cherry and white. But because the Panthers have guaranteed or, picked up Darnold's option for next year, he's probably there. So when healthy, I think he gets back in there. But I have no problem with PJ Walker as a 1-week streaming option here. And, if he does get a chance, he's that kind of guy we like that, has the legs and can throw the ball a little bit. So, hey, that's all you can ask for a Tinder date.
Tinderella. Justin Fields this week. Again, we saw Matt Nagy gone last week with COVID. Obviously, we hope he gets bad. We would never wish that on anyone, but it looked to be maybe a good thing for Justin Fields. Nagy's looking to come back this week. What are your thoughts on? Are you keeping Fields around, or is that kind of a 1-week flyer?
Man, this is kind of a DFS basketball thing, but remember, free Bobby Portis. It's like free Justin Fields. Just let the dude. Don't put him in positions where he's going to be getting hurt. Roll him out. Try to, don't make him do a lot of deep developing routes, but let the dude learn. Like you can only, like, once you can ride with training wheels, riding with training wheels doesn't do any good anymore. I think you can throw the training wheels off, let him take his lumps, and, probably make himself better for whoever takes over as coach and GM next year. But if you have Fields, you have to be able to see the upside here. Rush for over 100 yards, QB5 on the week. If you have room on your bench, single quarterback league, pick him up 2 to 4% of your FAB, just in case they let him keep doing this. like I've said many times, we've seen these dual threat quarterbacks come in and carry fantasy teams down the stretch. You have to at least look at that game he played against the 49ers and take fucking notice.
Let's look at absolutely. Let's look at a couple of streaming options here. Carson Wentz at home against the Jets. Yes, it's a short week, but again, I mean, the Jets are coming off that big game, but until they do that consistently, I still think a little bit of the Jet rule applies here.
Absolutely. You said the magic words, versus the Jets. And there's an added bonus here. Just next week, the Colts are at home versus the Jaguars, having that kind of mini bye coming off of Thursday Night Football. So I'd go a little bit heavier than I normally go on a streaming option here and say play, I don't know, that 2 to 4% of my range in FAB for Wentz, because you can get these 2 weeks out of him. And we got one more streaming option here. And if you watch some of our content, you know this has come up a couple of times tonight, and that's the boy Tua at home versus the Texans. If he is the starting quarterback for the Miami Dolphins in week 9, I expect him to have a kind of a fuck you game.
Hey, fuck you! Yes! Yes! Fuck you too!
I mean, this is a dude you tanked for Tua. He was the number 5 overall pick. They took him ahead of Herbert without thinking about it. He has talent. He's played better the last couple of weeks. He has some weaponry. The offensive line is shit, but it is what it is. The matchup against the Texans is a perfect get right game. So if you need to stream this week for 1% of your FAB or whatever, pick up Tua. And hey, maybe it's a jumping off point. If not, I still think you get a good week out of him.
Let's move on to running backs. Big earth-shattering news broke this morning here. It's Monday when this is being filmed, and that was Derrick Henry suffering the broken bone in the foot, expected to be out up to 8 weeks, likely going to be done for the season, IR, the works. Boy, that's got to equal a priority ad, right? I mean, it has to. Their whole offense is predicated on the run. Nobody's gonna duplicate what Derrick Henry does, but that's just the sheer volume. He was getting historic volume. We've got to have a priority ad here, and that looks to be Jeremy McNichols.
Somebody gotta be there when it gets ugly. Somebody gotta be there when it gets bloody. Somebody got to get their hands dirty.
It's like you're in just shock. I mean, Derrick Henry, dude, he's invincible, right? And I sat down, bouncing off the inside of my head, and I couldn't figure out how could he get hurt. He's invincible, right? And then I figured it out. He hurt his foot. What's the only thing that can hurt Derrick Henry? Is Derrick Henry. So, like we saw against the Bills when he successfully juked, this time, unfortunately, I think he stepped on his own dick. In stepping on his dick, I mean, that's got to be the strongest part of Derrick Henry, so that broke his foot. I mean, how can you be mad at a dude for breaking his foot for stepping on his own dick? I mean, shout out Derrick Henry, get better soon. Look, the situation for running backs and wide receivers who break their feet and need screws inserted, it's not good. I would not plan on having him the rest of the season. They're going to talk about, oh, yeah, he'll be back, whatnot. My guess is best case scenario, he'd be back for like the AFC Championship or Super Bowl. So if you're in a regular fantasy league, you have IR, great. Go ahead and talk to him. Dynasty, I'm obviously not cutting him if you don't have IR. But in your regular fantasy leagues, if you don't have IR, as soon as they make him, not undroppable anymore, and that's how good he was. He was undroppable. You're gonna have to cut him. So,
Wow, that's crazy.
Before we get to the we need everyone needs a little drinky poo.
Drinky poo.
So it's going to be a fucking quagmire to replace Derrick Henry because he is in theory irreplaceable. Right now, my priority ad is Jeremy McNichols, the former Boise State running back, former 5th round pick of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Dude has always had talent, but was kind of one of those dudes you might call a knucklehead or whatever for the most part. And it can be illustrated if you look at the back of his football card, you get your Tops or your Fleer out there. He basically has been on a different team every year. But this is his second turn with the Titans. It does seem that he has developed a bit of a rapport and trust with them, as they could have had other options there that kept him around as kind of the pass catching complementary option to Henry. I think he gets the first shot here, maybe not at the full job, but at the most important part of the job, which is say that 50% with the passing down work. We're going to get to Adrian Peterson in a minute. But again, AP he'll have a game or two, but McNichols is the guy I want. I don't think they're going to have time to make another move. I don't think they're going to do something aggressive, like go for a Melvin Gordon or a Trey Sermon or someone of that nature. So priority ad, if Jeremy McNichols is out there, if you don't really need running back help, but you have roster spot, throw 10% at him. If you need running back help, whether or not you have a roster spot, I'll go all the way up to 40% probably. It's a little aggressive, or maybe it isn't. We saw early in the year with Elijah Mitchell, everyone's like, oh, the 49ers have all these options. How are you going to spend 30% of your FAAB on Elijah Mitchell? And right now you're glad you did. So if he's out there, I'm going with McNichols well over the next guy, who is Adrian Peterson, just signed today, Monday, to the Titans practice squad. Great. He's Adrian Peterson. There is a 1% chance he's like Derrick Henry, like puts his hand on his shoulder and knights him with the transfers of superpowers over to him, or however it works with the people who are that awesome. But realistically, he's probably going to grind it out. He'll get some goal line carries. He'll be fine. He'll be probably basically equivalent to say like Latavius Murray. If that's doing something for you, great. Spend 1 to 4% of your FAAB on Adrian Peterson. But I'm going with McNichols, or if not, then just buy all the AJ Brown in the world somehow.
Let's move on to Saquon Barkley, the New York Giants running back. It looks like he's going to return from ankle injury this week. However, even if he returns, I don't expect him to get a full workload here.
Look, I hate the fucking Giants. They're playing on Monday Night Football right now. But Saquon Barkley, it seemed like he was maybe going to return in week 9. But considering that the Giants are on bye in week 10 at this point, I don't think it's going to happen. They'll probably, play around, maybe get some limited practice in. Let him rest, and then hopefully when he comes back after the week 10 bye, he'll be fully healthy, good to go, finally healed from that fucking grapefruit on his ankle. So if you need a 1-week option this week, Devontae Booker's your guy. If he's out there, that means no one else in your league really wants him, so you can get him for cheap. Call 1 to 3% of your FAAB, take your 8 to 12 points in PPR, and go upon your merry way.
That brings us to CMAC. Christian McCaffrey is questionable this week. Matt Rule came out and said if he doesn't play this week, he's going to play next week. Kind of been down this road before with him. If he doesn't play this week, even if he does play this week, Chuba Hubert's still a guy that you gotta keep, right? I mean, do not cut him.
Yes, do not under any circumstances cut Chuba Hubbard. We saw Christian McCaffrey last year try to return from an injury, come back for like 10 plays and was out for the rest of the season. But some people cut Mike Davis, because Christian McCaffrey's coming back. There's a reason I own Delvin Cook, and I'm still killing myself to keep Alexander Madison. McCaffrey, I think he's a legitimate coin flip, but I think the good news is you'll know by Friday afternoon whether he's in or he's out. And if he's out this week, he'll be in there next week. So just keep the faith, brother.
James Robinson, J-Rob of the Jacksonville Jaguars, scared fantasy owners this past week a little bit here, where he left the matchup in Seattle and did not return. It looks like the good news is it's not a major catastrophic injury, but he's questionable this week, and they may not have him facing Buffalo.
Yeah, you pretty much said it. He's legitimately questionable, but it seems if he misses, it'll be a 1-week absence. He actually banged his heel on a piece of equipment or something like that. So kind of one of those just, unfortunate whatnots. If he's out and you need a 1-week streamer, Carlos Hyde should get some GTP at Buffalo. Given the tough matchup, he'll probably be overlooked in your league. So I would go like 1 to 3% of your FAAB if you need that 1-week streamer. Yeah, at running back, which is all I could, it's Carlos Hyde, dude.
I know you're not overly in love with Baltimore Ravens running back situation, but Latavius Murray is questionable. The Ravens are coming out of their bye week. Murray should almost be healed up from that high ankle sprain, but they've turned into just a full-blown running back by committee of running backs that are from like 2017. So it's a weird situation. I don't like him here. Thoughts on Latavius Murray?
I think you did all this just because you didn't want to say full-blown RBBC, because that sounds like the title of your sex tape. Shout out Brooklyn Nine-Nine, who just finished it last season. If you have nothing at running back, go ahead and spend like 1 to 3% in your FAAB of Murray. He seems to be the leader of that band, but realistically, that band is like Lamar Jackson owns 99% of their royalties and rights. So just that's where you want to get in at.
Mills, walk us through what's going on in the wild world of Philadelphia running backs. It looks like it's a 3-way. now with Miles Sanders gone. And so, you know, are we adding Boston Scott and Jordan Howard here? I mean, if these are guys that they're getting action.
I don't think I've ever actually said out loud the term running back orgy before, but once you get past a three-way, I don't know what else you call it. Like they may or may not have toes involved here. Look, we thought, you know, we actually last week we called it don't spend a bunch of money on Kenneth Gainwell. We got that.
Yeah.
But on the other side, I actually expect Gainwell to be more involved. I think just because the game got away, they were able to go to Howard a lot more. So yeah, this is probably a three-way that becomes a four-way when Sanders comes back. If right now, if you have nothing at running back, I get it. You want to spend, I don't know, like 2 to 4% on either Boston Scott or Jordan Howard. Go for it. If you want to cut Kenneth Gainwell for them, I understand it. I think both Scott and Howard will have more value in the next week or two. Although I think if the Eagles ultimately fall out of the playoff picture, you see Gainwell get more carries. So, you know, if he gets dropped or you drop him, at least keep him on your watch list.
My boy out of UB, Jarrett Patterson. Thoughts on him this week? Is he worthy of an ad? Antonio Gibson and the fractured shin experiment. You know, what's the latest and greatest there?
Well, I mean, I hope they can do an experiment that fixes his shin, but it really seems that ultimately with the football team falling out of playoff contention, sooner or later, they're going to have to wave the white flag here, especially on Antonio Gibson's end. It doesn't make any sense for him to keep going out there on a team that's going nowhere. And, you know, even if you can't make it worse, he obviously cannot play anywhere near his ultimate capacity. You know, with this injury, he has to let it heal. You know, hey, the former UB product, dude, if he gets a chance, he'll split it with McKissick if and when Gibson goes out. I think he's really good, dude. So if he's out there right now, this is the time to buy. When Gibson goes out, he's going to be very expensive. Right now, you can get him for, say, 1 to 3% of your FAAB, put him on your bench. But as soon as Antonio Gibson goes on IR or is even out for a week, it's going to be one of those things where, oh, Jarrett Patterson, he's the number one waiver priority. So get him now while you can get him cheap. That's how you get the guys off the waiver wire. You have to be a week ahead. And that's why you have to listen. You have to like, you have to subscribe. And if you have any questions, just ask.
Joe Blow Drinking Show. Now on Seize the Gap Fantasy Football, Ty Johnson seized the gap last week a little bit with the real Mike White, right? I mean, this is a guy that played well last week. It looks like Tevin Coleman is done. That is not happening anymore in Jersey land with the Jets. Talk to us a little bit about Ty Johnson.
Ty Johnson is fine. He's the Jets version of JD McKissick to a certain extent. It seems that Michael Carter is locked in as the leading rusher who will also see carries, but Ty Johnson's in there. He's going to see targets, the occasional goal line carry. Given the state of the running back position right now, that's worth a little bit of your FAAB. Throw that, you know, that same kind of 1% if you don't really need running back that help that badly and you're speculating. 5% if you're pretty desperate in that 8 points he could provide really would be like that, you know, that biggie you need to make the rest of your lineup feel comfortable.
Let's move on to wide receivers. Michael Gallup looks to be activated. He's likely to be activated this week off of IR. I like Michael Gallup here in this position.
That's
I think,
what
again,
she said.
Probably the 1 to 5% FAAB range to grab him, but I think this is a good week to get him because he's in line to explode, particularly if Dak comes back.
Yeah, you just don't often see any wide receiver this talented with the pedigree, draft capital on an explosive offense available at this point in the season. There will be down weeks because there are so many options on the Cowboys, but there will be a week or two where he just wins you the fucking week with, you know, that unexpected 25 points with that 2 touchdown, 125-yard game or whatever. He's basically what everyone has been hoping that Mecole Hardman would be, I feel.
Will Fuller v. Mills, Dolphins coach Brian Flores announced he would not return this week. If he's available in leagues, is he worthy of maybe stashing him if you got that extra spot?
I think it's realistically, if you have a deep roster, sure, he's worth 1%. If you have an IR spot, he's worth 1%, but I wouldn't cut anybody of note for him.
Devontae Adams has been confirmed publicly. They confirmed that he's fully vaccinated. So he's still on the COVID-19 list, but we do expect him to come off there and play this week. That's going to be a big time lift there for Green Bay going into Kansas City and what likely might be a shootout. DeAndre Hopkins in and out of the Cardinals' loss against the Packers on Thursday Night Football. He's got a hamstring. He's legitimately questionable here as well. We'll have to see if he's going to practice this week. Likely to be a game time decision. What's going on with Julio Jones? Like, this is just it's like a revolving door here with the Julio Jones injuries.
You could have made the argument over the last couple of weeks that Julio was more of a luxury than a necessity, but with King Henry now out after just stopping on his hog, yeah, they need Julio. Now it's time to, all right, what can you play through? Like, can you play limited snaps? What can now it's time to, it was nice to try to get him fully healthy. And I just think Julio is one of those guys, he's never going to be fully healthy. It's just how it is. At this point of his career, I'm not telling him to suck it up. I obviously want him to make sure he, does what's right, but the Titans need to find a way that, all right, if we can't get 100% of Julio, how do we maximize 50% of him? Because they're going to need other contributors on that offense.
Now more than ever. One last injury of note here. Corey Davis, New York Jets wide receiver. Coach Robert Saleh said that he considers him to have a chance to suit up this week, but it's still kind of seeming more like doubtful here rather than questionable. We'll see how the week progresses. Mills, let's go through and talk through some ads. With him out, is it time for the Crowder Chowder baby with Jamison Crowder? Is he an ad for us this week?
Yeah, with Mike White under center, them on the short week here in PPR league, Crowder's worth 2 to 4% of your FAB. I think he's going to have a role the rest of the way out. It'll be more high floor than high ceiling. But with Davis out here, there's definitely a chance he can see that 15 to 20 point plateau in PPR league. So that's worth that little bit of your FAB if you need a wide receiver stream this week.
T.Y. Hilton suffered what seemed to be another injury Sunday, considered to be doubtful, suiting up against the Jets on Thursday Night Football on a short week.
Yeah, as Adam Schefter would say, he's not fucking playing. Oh, well, that's what I said, but Schefter would say it if he could, trust me.
Schefter wishes he could. One guy that you got as a priority ad this week is Rashad Bateman.
Somebody gotta be there when it gets ugly. Somebody gotta be there when it gets bloody. Somebody got to get their hands dirty.
If you look at the Ravens offense, they are poised to fucking explode with what Lamar Jackson has been doing. And this is a guy they took in the first round that has immediately come in after coming off the PUP list and seen a fair amount of targets. Now they're coming out of the bye with a chance to fully integrate him into the offense. Now that you don't have to worry about them being that rush first offense, it's open all of a sudden, man. And he complements Hollywood Brown and Mark Andrews very, very well. So this is it, dude. Even if he doesn't go nuts this week, people are still going to be picking him up as they come out of the buys and have that roster space open up. So pick him up now while you have the fucking chance. I would easily go to, 15% if I thought I had to, but if he's still out there in your league, you'd probably get him more in that, 5 to 7% range. But I think he's a guy with real league winning upside, and you do not often find that at this point in the season.
You got Darnell Mooney here as an ad, and it really seems like if they just let Justin Fields be Justin Fields, he's kind of his guy here, right, Mills?
Yeah, he's the wide receiver one for Justin Fields, pretty much has been all year, and no idea what's going on with Allen Robinson. If I knew, I could probably make money or help Allen Robinson. So Mooney shouldn't be out there. If he is, I call 4 to 8% of your remaining FAB. Pick him up. Hope that Fields continues to develop, and he could be a real asset for you down the stretch.
Van Halen Jefferson, man, this is a guy that we've talked about a couple of weeks here. He's another ad for us. Deshaun Jackson's rumored to be on the trading block. Jefferson's clearly emerged as a wide receiver 3 here. And unlike a lot of offenses, this is an offense in the Rams that there is enough to go around here a little bit. This is prolific.
The Rams offense can support multiple elite fantasy options, and you've seen that Van Jefferson's target share and snap percentage is uncomfortably close for Bobby Tree's owners. So he really shouldn't be out there at this point. If he is, 5 to 8% of your FAB, PPR, non-PPR, he's a useful flex. And if anything, if Cooper Kupp or Bobby Trees were to miss time, that puts Jefferson squarely in like the wide receiver 2 map. So definitely a guy who you can use as a flex, but also as handcuff upside for a wide receiver. So pretty sweet deal.
Absolutely. Russell, the love muscle Gage, man, this guy really let us down last week in fantasy as we were scrambling for last minute replacements for Calvin Ridley. It looks like he's going to be the guy going forward. I mean, look, Atlanta has to have one of the worst, if not the worst, wide receiver room in all of the NFL, but clearly Gage is all they got, and Kyle Pitts is going to get the double teams here. So it looks like this is an ad for us, right?
Yeah.
As crazy as it sounds. As crazy as it sounds.
I mean, hey, no, I mean, Russell Gage got a lot of preseason hype, and it's just obvious he's kind of a jag, just a guy. I mean, hey, hey, Goldie, you want my love muscle? What do you think I am, Kurt Russell? Or however I'm said it.
Times Square, I got blonde hair. I'm higher than Con Air. Rappers don't want to see me, I butt a Goldie Horn Bear in a lawn chair, cause I'm there. Kurt Russell. But Kurt Russell saying, come here, Goldie. You want my love muscle? I know you want it. I get
The
plenty.
idea.
And then
In
I
a PPR league, where you have to start 3 wide receivers or more, great. Spend 1-2% of your FAB on Russell Gage. Just take your 8 to 10 points and be happy. The final ads here, Devontae Parker. I obviously greatly prefer Jalen Waddle, but Parker has flashed at times. Good matchup this week, so 1% of your FAB for him. And because I'm never going to give you up, even though he's let me down, Brandon Ayuk. He's been cut in a bunch of leagues. This is a guy who was like a 4th or 5th round pick in a lot of leagues. 1st round pick by the 49ers last year. Not a historically good rookie season, but really fucking good. It's been all over the place a bit this year. We'll talk about this later. Some of the scuttlebutt is that his issues are related to not being vaccinated, but he saw his largest snap percentage and largest target percentage last week against the Cardinals. So I would absolutely spend at least 1% of my FAB on him if you have the roster space and he's been dropped in your league.
Let's move on to our favorite thing to talk about in fantasy football, and that's the tight end position. The tight end position is looking to get a little bit of good news here, at least for San Francisco, and that looks like George Kittle is expected back. I love this matchup personally against the Arizona Cardinals. And Mills, it's only going to help the San Francisco offense here, right? The offense kind of goes through Kittle in a lot of ways, certainly from an energy standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, you would think that ideally, having him and Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk and Elijah Mitchell, they're all going to help each other out. Can Jimmy G capitalize on that? I don't know. Can Trey Lance? I don't know either, but let's hope and see. Yeah, but if you have Kittle, obviously, I think if he's activated this week, you're putting him back in your lineup. But Darren Waller again, missed week 7, was on a bye last week. He's expected to play this week against the Giants. Obviously, if he plays, he's in there. If he's out, Foster Moreau is an excellent 1-week streamer worth about 1% of your FAB. The Raiders play at 1 o'clock, so it's not like you have to wait around till 4 to be able to make that move. And to make it easy on you, Dawson Knox is questionable. There's no fucking reason they bring him back this week against the Jags. He had surgery to repair a broken hand. He's going to be out this week. Possibly back in there next week, but could miss one more. So be it. And Eric Ebron, no one's playing you. You're still like 27 years old and former top 10 pick. So I think you get another shot somewhere else, but it's not happening in Pittsburgh. If you're out again, rookie Pat Freiermuth, he had a nice game against the Browns. So if Ebron's out again, Freiermuth's a decent streaming option. Call it 1-2% as the Steelers at home against the Bears. More importantly, the week after that, week 10, they're home against the Lions. So if you got the 2-week stream there, that makes them a little bit better than the average streaming play at tight end.
Robert Tonyan, Mills, out of Green Bay. I guess we got to pour one out for him. He suffered an ACL. He's going to miss the rest of the year. We're sad to see it. Robert Tonyan, the legend of Rob Tonyan. I mean, that's just hate to see Garrett, man. Now, with that said,
I think this is when you're supposed to say, "Hey, sign with the Buffalo Bills for min salary next year. It'll be cool, dude."
Pair you up with D Knox, man. Give you a 1-year flyer.
Oh, you're making Bills Mafia happy.
Now, the Sam Darnold, Dan Arnold connection hasn't existed for weeks, but that will forever be all that I talk about with Sam Arnold, Dan Darnold. But you've got Dan Arnold as an ad here this week. Dude's back. Guess who's back?
Guess who's back?
Talk to us about why. He's getting some volume, is he not?
He's basically the second most targeted wide receiver on the Jaguars, and he's seeing the occasional red zone target. That sounds like the tight end 12 on the season or something. So he's still out there in leagues where he is. It shouldn't take much. Call it 1-2% of your FAB. Hey, maybe he's the real Darnold after all.
Won't the real Darnold please stand up? please stand up. Week 9 streaming options. Your boy. I'll let you say his name just because it goes so sweet. It's like your
CJ
supreme clientele.
Uzama is sitting there with Capadonna playing the Browns. Look, we said it. He is like the ultimate all or nothing Bob play. 2 weeks this year, Uzama been a top 5 tight end, 2 touchdowns. The other weeks been useless. That's who he is. You know, if you're trying to take a chance, you feel like you're an underdog this week, go ahead, pick up Uzama for like 1% of your FAB and just hope that he balls out against the Browns.
Week 9 streaming option, Mo Alley Cox. We love his name. We love that it says Mo Cox. We love that it says Alley Cox. We love that it says Mo Alley Cox. But he delivered absolutely no Cox last week, and that's a giant dud. Did nothing and let me down, amongst others. You got him as an ad this week. Talk us through it.
He's playing the Jets. His name is Cox. Tight end sucks. If you have 1% of your FAB and no other options, eat the cock and do what you gotta do in the alley.
Meet you in the alley for some Mo Cox. That's going in too. And last but not least, you got Josiah DeGuaro. I'm gonna let you say. I'm gonna let you. Mills, we got one more streaming option. Tell us who it is.
The name that you can't pronounce, our week 9 streaming option for the Green Bay Packers is Josiah DeGuara, who is the former third round pick for the Packers. He's widely expected to be the pass catching tight end going forward with Robert Tonyan out for the season. You know that Mercedes Lewis is going to drive into the parking garage and steal some fucking touchdowns like the fucking touchdown vulture he is. But dude, he's Mercedes Lewis. He's been around for a while. And if you've seen that dude, we've seen Mo Alley Cox. Mercedes Lewis is fucking Mo Cox Diesel. Like, dude, he will fuck you up. There's a reason he's around the NFL as a tight end, despite the fact he only catches like 3 passes a season. That dude, tough dude, professional tight end, and professional vulture. So good for you, Mercedes Lewis. Steal it. But I will go with the boy, Josiah DeGuara, if I need a random streaming tight end for week 9 when the fucking Packers have to go into Arrowhead and play the Chiefs in a possible shootout. And the Chiefs have been the worst team in defending the tight end so far this season. So 2,500 on draft.
Tidbits, the more you know. Like, subscribe. Mills, we got to talk about it. Defense, special teams. Let's go with our streaming options right off the bat. Indianapolis against the Jets kind of screams out off the page here. However, there is a chance that the real Mike White is the real Mike White here.
I'm willing to take that chance, especially considering it's a short week. The Colts are at home, and then next week they get that mini bye, and then they're at home against the Jags. So that makes them really like a 2-week streamer. So I'm willing to go like 4% of my FAB on that because it literally can get you by for 2 weeks.
We also have Pittsburgh here taking on Chicago, another team that has some potential for a week or two streaming option here, right?
Absolutely. I mean, we saw Justin Fields get it done, but the San Francisco 49ers DST still had a decent day because he's still getting sacked at the highest rate of any quarterback in the league. And next week, the Pittsburgh Steelers get to stay home and face the Detroit Lions. So same thing, 2 to 4% of your FAB. I mean, honestly, the Steelers were, a top 3 DST the last couple of years, but they have been cut in a surprising number of leagues. So you can actually get there for that cheap price. So we like that.
We always love when we're able to get there.
That's what she says.
For the cheap price. It's pay for play. Mills, one last streaming option on defense special teams is San Francisco against Arizona. Now, this is interesting, especially if Kyler Murray doesn't play. This kind of has that tentative asterisk next to it, but they might be. I mean, in all honesty, the Cardinals might be without Murray and DeAndre Hopkins here. That's a big part of their offense.
Yeah, this is just definitely a case of where it's a week where a lot of the top defensive options are already owned in most leagues. So you have to be a little bit more DITC here, digging into the crates to find another option. And that's where you kind of get down here. Dude, if it's Colt McCoy at the controls with no DeAndre Hopkins, yes, I do like Chase Edmonds, but I'll absolutely take a couple of shares of the San Francisco defense at home in that scenario.
This has been Seize the Gap, fantasy football, injuries, and ads. Make sure you like and subscribe. Joe Blow Football Show, Jamie G, Magnum Mills. The crew is here to give you what you need to keep on winning these fantasy championships, baby. Championship. We'll be back with more Joe Blow Football Show. Drink your booze.